Hey everyone, good day. Welcome to Firewall Analyzer Free Training Part 1. Let us straight away jump into the agenda for today's session. First, we'll be looking at a typical network infrastructure and why firewalls play a critical role in network security. Second, we'll look at a more important question in hand, that is, why should a security admin use Firewall Analyzer? And from here on, we'll be looking at how to fetch the rules and configuration from your firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. And further, after fetching the rules and configurations, we'll have a look at the rule management capabilities of Firewall Analyzer, followed by its configuration monitoring and backup capabilities. And finally, we'll also be looking at the compliance reports and audit report feature of the same tool. As discussed before, let us take a typical network infrastructure for explanation. A typical network infrastructure consists of a router, a WAN, a LAN, and also multiple endpoint devices which connects to these WAN and LAN, and various types of on-premise servers, including the Active Directory server, which manages permissions and access to network resources. And last but not the least, the gatekeeper to all the network devices, which is the firewall. Hackers generally can attack any one of these devices to get into the network, and Manage Engine products have the capability to monitor and report on all of these network devices. However, today we'll be specifically looking at firewalls. Why firewall devices? Because firewall is the heart of security in any enterprise network. Once a hacker gets into the heart, that is the firewall device, he or she will have unlimited access to your entire network. Now let us take a look at a more important question in hand, that is, what are the major reasons for a firewall device to be at risk, and also why Firewall Analyzer? Gartner predicts that 99% of exploited vulnerabilities will continue to be the ones known by security and IT professionals for at least 1 year. So firewall misconfigurations, and specifically the known misconfigurations, are the issue here, and hence it is critical to identify and fix your firewall misconfigurations at the earliest. Hackers working around the clock to breach networks, it's essential to ensure that your firewall rules are spot on. Outdated firewall rules can be easily exploited by hackers to get into your network. Firewall rules need to be regularly audited and optimized for this very purpose. Security admins are in a constant state of tug of war with the hackers, and to win this war, network admins constantly install new security devices, and on the other hand, hackers are always inventing new creative ways to get around these systems. But merely installing new security devices is of no use, and let's not simply stop with monitoring, but also in implementing a monitoring combined with a quick remediation solution, which is the key for the network admins to win this tug of war with the hackers. Finally, regulatory mandates does not only ensure regulatory compliance, but also will help in covering common security loopholes. Introducing Firewall Analyzer, a policy management and configuration reporting software which helps in managing and optimizing your firewall rules with its rule management feature. And it helps in identifying who made what changes, when and where these changes were made. And not only this, it also helps in taking a configuration backup in case of a network disaster. And it helps in keeping track of security and traffic logs, which is the log analysis feature. And then its alarm management feature helps in notifying attacks and bandwidth anomalies as and when they happen. And finally, you have the compliance management, which helps in identifying firewall misconfigurations in regard to the compliance standards. Now that we got a brief on the capabilities of Firewall Analyzer, let us jump straight in on how to fetch the rules and configurations from your firewall to Firewall Analyzer. Step 1 is to configure your firewall devices to generate syslogs at the UDP port 1514. This would act as the default listener port for Firewall Analyzer, and once you do this, you can perform log analysis and alarm management features in Firewall Analyzer. Step 2. Once you receive the syslogs from the firewall device to Firewall Analyzer, credential profile need to be set for these specific devices. So specific firewall devices. So once you do this, you get access to the inventory reports, that is specific reports for each individual firewall device. Step 1 and 2 will be covered in detail in the next session, which is scheduled on next week. So in this session, we're going to discuss in detail about the most important step, that is the third step, where once you get set the credentials, you will now have to fetch the rules and configurations of your firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. So once you do this, you get access to the rule management reports, configuration monitoring and backup reports, and also the compliance management reports. We can fetch the rules and configurations by two methods. Number one, you can directly fetch the rules and configurations from your firewall device using the CLI or API protocol. The second way is to add the devices into the device rules is by directly uploading the rules and configurations of your firewall device, which I'll be discussing in the second slide. So in this slide, as you can see, the API or CLI fetching is currently available for select firewall vendors, and we'll be sharing a list of the vendors that we support by the end of this presentation. On the screen, you can see a sample screenshot of how to add the device info. And given on the left is the CLI of the firewall device. So we have taken a case of Cisco firewall here, for example. And on the right is the product UI. So as you can see, to add a firewall device, you need its username, password, prompt, enable command, enable password, and enable prompt. So these are for CLI. And the same applies for API, where we'll have to enter the web server URL, username, and password. So let me quickly take you to the product URI to show that to you in working. All right, so over here, you go to settings and go to firewall server and click on device rule. So here you simply hit add, and over here you have the option to choose between CLI and API. So based on the protocol that you choose, you have to fill in all of these informations. So once this is done, you hit on validate. And once you do that, the firewall analyzer checks if the credentials of the particular firewall that you have entered is correct. And once that is done, you can directly fetch rules, generate security audit, and also generate change management reports in Firewall Analyzer. Moving back. All right, so the second way to add your firewall device to firewall rules is by directly uploading the firewall devices, rules, and configurations. So first, you will have to export the configuration file from your firewall device. And next, you'll need to create the rule file manually. So this is nothing but a text file where each rule is listed in a single line in the respective order, and each rule needs to be separated by a comma. So once you have these two files, or at least one of them, you can import the rule file and configuration file respectively and add the firewall device to device rule. So to show that to you in working, in the same window, you choose file option in the fetch through section, choose your firewall device, and you populate the import for a rule file or the configuration file. So here for this demonstration, I have the configuration file setup. I'm going to hit import, and here you can see that Firewall Analyzer is processing this request to add this particular firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. As you can see, the processing is done, and we have successfully added that to the Firewall Analyzer. So next, in addition to the first two methods of adding a firewall device to Firewall Analyzer, we have a new method, which is the manual device addition, and this has been recently introduced. So this new method of device addition does not require, on the contrary to norms, any syslogs to be forwarded from your firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. These devices can be directly added to Firewall Analyzer for monitoring using the device name and IP address alone. This method is popularly used by auditors and managed service providers to provide firewall management service to its clients. So even without these syslogs, Firewall Analyzer can run all its rule and compliance management features. So to quickly show that to you, I'm going to take you back to the product. But here under settings, go to discovery, hit on add firewall. And among all the different methods of adding firewall, here you choose the add device manually option. So here you'll have to choose the vendor name, enter the IP address, and enter the device name. So once you're done with that, in case you want to have the device rule added as well, simply hit the checkbox over here and fill in the respective information. And following this, you'll be able to perform the rule management and compliance monitoring feature of firewall analyzer to the devices that are added with just the IP address and device. So once you fetch the firewall rules and configurations from your firewall device, Firewall Analyzer will give you access to 3 primary reports. So these are the rule management report, configuration management report, and finally, security audit and compliance reports. Now, to explain the features of Firewall Analyzer in detail, we're going to be running you through a use case based scenario where we'll have an imaginary admin who goes by the name Jim, and he'll be joining a company, again imaginary, and he'll be facing a couple of network security issues which he will be solving using the features of Firewall Analyzer. So let me walk you through the first situation that Jim is facing. So let's say our imaginary network admin Jim is working in a company which is facing a lot of network security issues. So as a preliminary task, he has been asked to do the following. That is, number 1, optimize the firewall policies or rules. And number 2, to monitor the changes that are made to the firewall configuration, and also to schedule configuration backups. And number 3 is to submit a detailed compliance and security audit report. Let us look at what are the challenges faced by Jim and how he overcomes these challenges. Let us look at the first use case in hand for Jim. So the first use case is for Jim to optimize the firewall policies. To do this, Jim is facing the following challenges. That is, Jim, considering that he's new to the company, which means he has very poor visibility into the rule set of the firewall devices. And also, considering that this is a pretty old company, there are nearly more than 1,000 rules for him to review. And he has to review each of these rules manually and has no direct visibility into the existing rules. This is an old company, and the rules that have been created have not been reviewed right from day one. There are a lot of unused and duplicate rules. And also, to add on to complexity, there have been more than one security admin who has written these rules, and hence these rules are highly unoptimized. Not only this, as I mentioned earlier, the company has more than 1,000 rules, and hence any new rule that Jim plans to add might impact the existing rule set negatively. Finally, last but not the least, there are around 5 firewalls in Jim's company, and every time he needs to write a rule and analyze the impact of making the change, it has to be done 5 folds. That is, it has to be done to 5 firewalls, and Jim has to do all of these manually. So these are the challenges faced by Jim. So let us look at how Firewall Analyzer's rule management module can help Jim to optimize the firewall rules. First, under rule management module, we have the policy overview report. So this report gives you a visibility to all the rules that have been written in the firewall since day one. And you can filter these rules according to the allowed or denied rules, inbound or outbound rules, inactive rules, login disabled rules, and even any-to-any overly permissive rules. You can always download all of these reports and analyze them as per your convenience. So with this, Jim or any network security admin will get visibility into the complete list of rules that are running in any firewall. So let me take you to the product to show this to you in working. So over here under rule management, you go to overview. So for this purpose, we are looking at the policy optimization report. So once you add a policy overview report, so once you add the device to the device rules, you click on rule management and overview, and you choose the particular firewall device for which you need all of these information. So once you come to this screen, you choose the firewall device. I've chosen my FortiGate 1. And here you can see all the rules that are listed. And to view them in detail, simply click on total rules. And you can view a detailed information on all the rules that are present on your FortiGate 1 firewall. So given this is the case, Jim now gets clear visibility into the existing rule set. Given that Jim is new, this is extremely important to him. Even if he is not new, it is extremely important for any network security admin to have visibility into all the security rules that are there for any specific firewall. So we newly introduced the policy overview intelligence search. So this is nothing but a new enhanced object definition level search, which is available for any object or IP across existing rule sets in the policy overview report. Now that Jim has solved the visibility issue, he has to address the second issue. As mentioned before, the rules have been written by multiple security admins and have not been reviewed for over a very long period of time. Because of this, there are a lot of anomalous rules and also overly permissive rules which affect the performance of the firewall. With Firewall Analyzer, however, you can rectify the anomalies in the firewall policy, reduce the overly permissive rules, and even fine-tune your existing rules. Let us quickly jump to the product policy optimization report in the product UI and see how this feature works. So for this, under rule management, you have the optimization option. And under optimization, you can clearly see the various policy anomalies, the rule suggestions, policy fine-tuning, object usage, and duplicate objects. So all of these features I'll be explaining through the course of this webinar. Analyzer identifies the following rule anomalies, that is shadow, redundancy, generalization, correlation, and grouping. In this slide, we have given a detailed example of all the anomalies that are detected by Firewall Analyzer. We will be sharing this presentation to you post this training so that you can go through this list of anomalies and understand them better. Now, let us look at how we can optimize using Firewall Analyzer from the product UI. So I'm taking you back to the product. So over here, let me choose SRX Firewall for this demonstration purpose. And under rule management, under optimization here in the policy anomaly section, you can see that there are a couple of rules that are marked as redundant. There are a couple of shadow rules, and to view them in detail, you simply have to click on the particular anomaly listed over here. And so for every anomaly, you get a detailed report as to what is the problem and what exactly are the other details of that particular anomaly. So this is policy anomalies report. So next we have the rule suggestion report. So with this rule suggestion, once again, if you hit generate, you get something like this. And here you will get a list of all the overly permissive rules which are connected to overly permissive source or destination. So with this, once again, you can clearly identify what are the rules that are overly permissive. And as you already know, overly permissive rules will cause a big issue, because if you have too many of these, it will be an easier way for the attackers to get into your network. With Firewall Analyzer, however, you can easily identify the said overly permissive rules. All right, so next we're going to be looking at the policy fine-tuning feature. So for this, I'm going to have the same SRX. I'm going to have the FortiGate 1 firewall for this demonstration. And over here, I'm simply going to choose a different rule name, and I'm going to hit fine-tune. So once I hit fine-tune, I'll get a recommendation from Firewall Analyzer on how that particular rule is affecting the existing rule set and on how it can be optimized. So next, I'm going to take you to the duplicate object section. So for this, I'm going to go choose a different firewall. This will be my SRX firewall. So all right, so duplicate objects. This option displays the list of object names that are associated with multiple rules. Duplicate objects report helps to find the network or service objects having the same set of IP addresses or services but different object names. Duplicate objects slow down the firewall device, and with this report, you can better identify and fix this. So finally, we have the object usage report. So this tab provides an overview of network and service objects that have been used by the firewalls based on the syslogs received for a period of time. Next is the rule reorder report. With multiple security admins writing rules, the rules are not optimally arranged. For example, let's say that a rule was written recently and it takes the position number of 500, but it is a rule that has a lot of hits. In other words, it's a frequently used rule. So every time the firewall processor has to go through all the other 499 rules to get to this rule. What this does is it takes a hit on the firewall's processing speed. Firewall Analyzer provides a rule reorder report, which helps you to solve this problem. So let us look at how this report looks like in the product UI. So for this, you go to the reorder report over here. All right, let me choose a different firewall. Right, I'm going to go ahead with the demo firewall 123. I'm choosing the reorder report. All right, so here we have our data. So this data is once again for the demo firewall 123 device, and this data generated is for a period of last 30 days. So once again, this value varies with each firewall device that you choose, obviously. So if you look at it, you have so many ways that the reorder suggestion has been provided. So what this basically means that if this particular rule, rule number 22, is moved from its current position of rule number 21 to a new position of number 1, there is a possibility of the performance improvement by around 91%, considering that this rule number 22 has been getting around 21 hit count. So with this, you get a clear understanding of where your rule needs to be positioned to get the maximum out of your firewall. Having received these suggestions from both the policy optimization report and reorder report, Jim can make further analysis on the repercussions of these reports using our rule impact analysis feature. And post-through analysis, he can also push these changes directly from the firewall analyzer tool to the firewall device using our rule administration feature. So in the next couple of slides that I'll be discussing, I'll show you the rule impact analysis and the rule administration feature that I just explained. This is the rule cleanup report. As I explained earlier, Jim's company is an old company, and there is a possibility that there are a lot of rules which are not used, and since it is out of place. And these very same rules can be used to breach the network. With Firewall Analyzer's rule cleanup report, you get a detailed list of all the unused rules, unused objects, and also unused interfaces and unassigned objects. It is recommended that you first deactivate these rules for a short period of time, and once you find that there is no impact in the network, the same can be safely removed. This would not only make your network safer, but would also aid in firewall's processing speed. Let us look at how this report looks like in the product UI. So for this, again, for the same firewall device, I'm going to go to the cleanup report. All right, so here you can see a list of all the unused rules. And once again, as I explained, if there are any rules that are outdated and as a result of not being used, hackers can pounce on them and get into the network. We're going to look at the unused objects. So with this report, you can clearly understand the rules that are unused and the unused objects. And also you can understand what are the unassigned interfaces and also the unassigned objects. And as a result, you can understand what is needed, what is not needed, what rule is needed, what rule is not needed, and you can deactivate them. You can also check their impact and go ahead and delete these rules permanently. The next is the rule impact analysis. This is a feature that I explained previously. So the question we have to ask is, why do we need this feature? What is rule impact analysis? Before you add any rule, it is very difficult to know the impact that this new rule can have on your entire existing rule set. Firewall rules are not typically independent from one another. In fact, most rules have a direct impact on a set of another rules. Given this case, you must take utmost caution before adding any new rule to your firewalls. This simplest error can trigger a massive security loophole that either allows malicious traffic to sneak in or block legitimate traffic and disrupt normal businesses. With Firewall Analyzer's rule impact analysis, you can easily determine if the proposed new rule is going to impact the existing rule set negatively. The rule impact feature does the following. That is, it checks the proposed new rule against the existing rule base for anomalies. It suggests an optimal rule reorder by analyzing the proposed new rule for rule complexity and anomalies. It identifies any overly permissive destination interfaces for the proposed new rule. It detects and reports on service, application, and interface level threats. It singles out blacklisted IP addresses that are used in the proposed new rule. It provides risk assessment for relevant feature, services, applications, and interface ports. And finally, you also get to understand the object repetitiveness in a rule. So let me quickly take you to the product to show this to you in working. So for this, you go to rule management and here you hit impact. So let's say you want to add a new rule without applying it to your firewall device. All you have to do is fill up the rule impact information in the rule impact analysis report, which is over here. Excuse me. So let's say you want to add a new rule without applying it to your firewall. All you have to do is fill up the rule impact information, such as the position, source, destinations, and the others that are listed in the screen. And once you're done with all of that, you'll have to click on generate report. And in case you have a list of IP addresses that you would like to blacklist, you can consider that done. Simply add that to a file and check this box, browse it, choose it from your inventory, from your directory, and upload that over here. And Firewall Analyzer automatically excludes those IP addresses from being included when we are calculating the impact. So once you're done with that, you will get something like this. All right, so here you can see that we have the anomaly detail first. So this is nothing but lists out the anomalies that are detected in your firewall rule set. So this includes the redundancy, shadowing, and grouping, and etc. The other anomalies that we discussed in the previous slides. Next, we have the rule reorder suggestions. This is nothing but the rule reorder feature, which we saw previously. So Firewall Analysis Impact Report will show you moving around the rules which will have an improvement, will be listed over here. Then we have the overly permissive rule. So here we can see if there are any overly permissive rules that are identified in your firewall rule set, it will be populated out over here. And then in the security threat details, you can get a detailed list of services or application level security threats. And here we have the interface level security threats categorized over here. And you also get a list of blacklisted IP addresses that might be mistakenly used in any of your new rules that you wish to push to your firewall. That will be populated in the impact report section over here. And then you have the risk assessment, that is the risk port info. Here you get a risk assessment of the service or application level ports and interface level ports over here. And finally, you also get a list of objects which are repetitive, that is with respect to both service object and source object in other rules. So before you even write a specific rule, you get a detailed analysis of how this existing rule will impact the existing rule set, of how this new rule will impact the existing rule set. So with this feature, Jim can understand the impact of any negative interactions even before a new rule is made live. Firewall Analyzer with this rule administration feature can push changes into the firewalls directly from the tool. So there are 4 major functions that you can perform using this feature. That is, you can add, modify, or delete network and service objects. You can add, modify, and delete firewall rules. You can also analyze the implications of a change, which is already been covered in the rule impact analysis feature. However, we have an overlap of that feature in this feature as well. And finally, we can push these changes directly to a firewall device. So let us look at how this feature looks like in the product UI. So for this, I'm taking you to rule management and you go to administration. And for this demonstration, I'm choosing my FortiGate 1 device. And right out over here, you can see that we have 3 tabs where the changes we intend to make are recorded. So these are the network objects, service objects, and security rules. These are over here. So under this, you have the firewall objects, which represent the existing rules and objects in the selected firewall device. That is at least the ones that have been fetched while adding the device rule. And under local objects, here this represents the changes that you want to make in a specific firewall device. And the following changes can be made in network objects, service objects, and security rules. There's nothing but adding a network object, service object, or a security rule. You can edit an existing network, service object, or a security rule. And you can even delete an existing network object, service object, or a security rule. So let me show you an example. Let me edit a firewall object. So over here, I'm simply going to edit this one. I'm going to add an address description. I'm going to hit add. So when I click on add, it doesn't mean that this rule has been directly pushed to the firewall. Obviously, there are multiple steps before we push a firewall rule to firewall device. So this process applies, the similar process applies to service objects and also to service rules. As mentioned before, you get a detailed impact analysis even before you make the change, and hence you can optimize your changes even before you push them to the firewall. So now that we have made the edit of your choosing, either in the network object, service object, or service rule, let us look at steps that is involved on pushing these to your firewall. So to push the changes over here, you'll have to go to the review and push tab. So this is where all the changes that you have recorded are listed. And to push them to the firewall, you have to select them and you need to enter the credentials of your firewall device to push these to your firewall. So this is obviously for security purposes. And in case you want to push it to a specific firewall, you have to select those firewall devices, enter the credentials and push it, because you don't want to push the rules without authorization or validation. So I'm going to enter the login name and password over here. I'm going to hit validate. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to hit push button. So once the commit, as an added layer of review, we also have the commit option that is over here. So here we need to validate the push once again, so that this is the final confirmation that is needed from our end to push the rule to the selected firewall device. So once we commit, the same is recorded in the commit audit for future reference. Also, if there are any changes or edits to the objects in the commit window, you can simply select the revert option and you'll be taken to the window to make the desired changes. So this revert option is over here. Once you do that, I'm going to hit add. And you can see that from the commit window, this has been pushed to the network objects, local objects section. Next, we're going to look at the rule approval option. So this is nothing but, let me quickly take you to the online demo tool that we are going to use for this demonstration purpose. This is nothing but the demo.fw analyzer, which is available online. It is free of cost. You don't need any credentials to log in. You simply have to log on to this, enter this in your browser's search bar, and you can directly log into a live running setup of Firewall Analyzer, and you can experience all the features that we have on offer for trial. So you can check all of these features right out over here for your convenience. So moving back to the demonstration, I'm going to take you to rule management and administration feature. And I'm going to have this set up for my Cisco device. All right. So to explain the rule approval feature, so rule approval is nothing but the process of approving any changes that has been raised by operators or admins who do not have the access to push changes directly to your firewall. So in case you are a super admin or an admin who has access to authorize or approve these changes, only you can access this rule approval window. And once you approve a particular request, you can see all of the approved requests over here. And in case you reject a request from an admin or an operator, all of those requests will be populated over here. And in case you have any pending request that was raised by operators who are outside of your shift timing, you can see all of those under the pending request section. So with this, Jim gets complete control over making changes to his firewall rules, and in analyzing the impact these changes can have on the existing firewall rule set from a centralized tool. So now let us look at a new feature in Firewall Analyzer that is a comparatively new feature, which is rule comparison. So with this rule comparison feature, Jim can easily pinpoint the changes that have been made to the rule configurations, and he can do this by comparing between any two configuration files. These two configuration files can either be two different between a configuration file and a latest running configuration, or this comparison can even be between two running configuration versions. So by using this comparison feature, Jim can clearly identify all the changes that are made to the firewall rules across various configuration versions. This feature lets you compare two different configurations. Let's say you want to make, say, a new configuration update, but before you push it to live, you want to compare it with an existing configuration. So instead of doing this manually, with Firewall Analyzer, you get a list of differences or common changes comparing the existing config with the old one with the click of a button. So let me take you to the product to show that to you in working. So under rule management, you have the comparison option. And over here, for the demonstration purpose, I'm going to compare a configuration file with the latest running configuration. So the latest running config of the FortiGate firewall device 1, FortiGate 1 is going to get compared with a file that I have prepared in advance. I'm going to hit compare. So once again, here you can select, here you can view all the changes between the running configuration with the configuration file that I uploaded. So the changes that are marked in purple are the ones that are modifications, and the changes that are marked in red are the deletion changes. So compared to the latest running configuration of the FortiGate 1 firewall, the file that I uploaded contains all of these changes. So that is what is color coded and described over here. So if you want to drill down, you can simply click the compare option and you can get to understand in detail on what this particular change is all about. All right, so as a rule management best practice, most security administrators set expiration dates for their firewall rules. And after expiring, firewall rules need to be rectified and reactivated again. However, as most organizations have hundreds and hundreds of rules and multiple security admins working on these rules, it becomes nearly impossible to review the expired rules and rectify them manually. Firewall Analyzer's expiry notification feature can help the security admins to track the status of the firewall rules and get notified on which rules have expired. So this helps you in getting visibility on the list of all the firewall rules for which any kind of schedule has been set. It enumerates all the active firewall rules for which a schedule has been set, and security admins can also track specific active rules and get notified the moment an active rule expires. And there's also the upcoming rules, which catalogs all the rules that are scheduled to turn active in the near future. And then there are expired rules, which records all the rules that have expired. And you also have recurring rules, which lists all the rules that are reactivated and certified on a regular basis. So all the given reports can be scheduled on a periodic basis and can even be sent via email. So let me quickly take you to the product to show that to you in working. So for this, under rule management, you go to expiry notification. And for this demonstration purpose, I'm going to choose my Palo Alto firewall. And over here, you can see all the scheduled rules that are supposed to go live, all the active firewall rules over here. Then you have the upcoming rules scheduled to go live in the near future listed out over here, the rules that have expired, and the rules that are recurring. So next, we have a newly launched feature of Firewall Analyzer. So that is the risk analysis. This is a new feature that is available from the latest version 12.7 onwards. And in case you want to experience this feature, I would request you to update your setup by downloading the latest PPM from our website. Or in case you need assistance with updating your setup, I would request you to call on our technicians who will help you through the process. So Firewall Analyzer has introduced the risk analysis report to simplify and help you to prioritize and manage all the rules. So this helps in listing the rules based on severity and in identifying weak firewall policy misconfigurations and in limiting the security incidents. So what you see here is the summary page. So this page gives you an overall information about your firewall device's risky rules. So here under rules, we have two options, that is show by rule and show by risk. So the show by rules page contains all the risky rules data along with the associated risky level count. So to understand this, simply click on any risky rule count and you'll get to understand the associated risks of this particular rule. All of this is available. And next we have the show by risk feature. So this page displays the risk sections that contain the risky rules. So to understand them, simply again click on them and you can understand why a particular rule has been classified in this section. So next we have the excluded rules option. So this contains the rules that you have marked as false positive, meaning the rules that you have marked will be ignored or will be exempted when the Firewall Analyzer tool calculates the risky rules in the future. So now that Jim has reviewed all the rules and made necessary changes in his firewall rules, let us look at the second task that he has been assigned, which is to monitor and record changes made to firewall configurations. One of the employees in Jim's team left the company, and it is suspected that he did some damage to the firewall configuration before he left. But this has so far gone unnoticed, and the company has not been able to identify the exact specifics of the changes that have been made. And they are very keen on avoiding similar incidents in the future. And hence, the second task that Jim has been assigned is to monitor and record all the changes to the firewall device. Also, given that the latest configuration has been tampered upon, it is required for Jim to identify a previous working configuration version and restore the configuration files without any issues. Let's look at how firewall analyzers, change management reports, and configuration backup can help Jim to solve this issue. As mentioned before, the changes made to the firewall configuration have gone unnoticed previously. So let's say this employee who has made the damage and quit goes by the name James, and let's say he has made a change to the firewall. Firewall analyzer will always record any and all changes that are happening on the firewall device. Firewall analyzer does not only track who made the change, but also when it was done and what was the change that has happened. So let us look at the change management report in the product UI. So I'm taking you back to the product, and over here under compliance, you go to the change management button. So for this demonstration, I'm going to choose the Cisco ASA firewall, and I'm going to set the time period for the past 30 days. All right. So here you can see that we have multiple changes that has multiple changes, that has happened across a broad range of dates. So when you scroll down here, you can see the configuration changes and who has made those changes, and the changes made from the IP address, the version number, the change count, and also the change type. So here you can see that we have an employee by the name Rahul who has made a change. So to get to know in detail on what this particular change is all about, simply click on the little icon that is present next to it. And here you get to understand an in-depth information on the specific changes made. So as you can see, purple denotes the modified changes, pink denotes the deleted changes, and green denotes the newly added changes. With this change management report, Jim gets complete visibility over who changes what, and also gets real-time alerts on all the changes that have been made. And also, as an extension, in case Jim is required to download any or all of these reports, you can simply click on the download button that's present over here. You have the option to download this in the form of CSV, PDF, or Excel format. And to have this sent to you as an email, simply select the email option and choose the email address, from address to address, fill in the subject and email, and hit send, and you will get this sent to you on an email. And to schedule this on a recurring basis, simply hit the schedule option over here and choose the recurring schedule option, and follow the same procedure. Choose the report format type and hit save, and this report gets saved and gets sent to you on a recurring basis. All right. So with this feature, with this configuration backup feature, Jim can clearly schedule automated configuration backups, and hence any erroneous modifications that are made to the current configuration version, which could be either due to an attack or due to a network disaster, can be averted by reverting back to the backup that was taken previously. So let us look at how this feature looks like in the product UI. So for this, under compliance, you go to configuration backup feature. All right. So here you can see that we already have a schedule running for firewall analyzer for the FWA for the FortiGate 1 device, and this report is named FWA. So this is a backup report, a backup schedule that has been created. So to create a new one, simply hit on add backup schedule, give this report a name, and choose the firewall device for which you want to have this configured. And in case you want to have this recurringly made, let's say you want to have the backup once every week, you can do that over here. And to notify you that this backup has been completed, or to help you keep track of this backup, you can even configure an email that lets you know on that lets you know when a particular configuration backup has been completed. And in case you do not want to have this configuration backup running, simply disable it. You don't have to delete it and create it back every time you need this backup to be happening. So now let us proceed to the next use case. That is to submit a detailed compliance and security audit report. The GIMS company needs to be compliant with multiple security standards, but they are falling short with a lot of them. And this has affected them so much that they have started losing customers since the compliance is not up to date. So GIM has been assigned a task to submit a detailed compliance report and a security audit report. Let us look at how Firewall Analyzer helps GIM to solve this issue. Firewall Analyzer provides out-of-the-box compliance standard reports, which includes SANS, PCI DSS, NIST, ISO, NERC CIP, HIPAA, GDPR, and many more. So this helps you to periodically check for compliance and also lets you assess your firewall security. Let us look at how this report looks like in the product UI. So for this, under compliance, you go to standards. And once again, you can choose this to be generated for a specific firewall. So here I've chosen FortiGate 1 firewall. And as you can see, this given firewall is not up to standards for multiple compliance standards. So on clicking more on any of these, you'll get to understand further drill down on exactly which sections that they have failed in. So let us assume that the company that GIM is working in is a card-based company, which means they have to be reliant and compliant on the PCI DSS. So to know more on why they are failing to comply for this, I'm going to click on it. And on exploring more, you can get clear understanding on why they are not compliant with this particular policy. So here you can see that the tick represents the sections that they are compliant in, and star represents the sections that needs to be manually reviewed, and the tick mark denotes the sections, cross mark denotes the sections that they have failed. So I'm going to click on the cross mark section to understand what is the issue. So here you can see that they have failed in this particular section, and in addition to simply telling you where the compliance section have failed, you also get a recommendation section from Firewall Analyzer that tells you what are the changes that you can make so that you may qualify for this X marks get converted into a tick mark. So we also give you that suggestion over here. So next we're going to look at the security audit report, which is the second part of GIM's requirement. So let's say the Firewall Analyzer's security audit report, GIM's security audit report is a requirement of GIM to identify the configuration loopholes in his firewall. So with Firewall Analyzer and its security audit feature, GIM can identify the events that are classified into critical, high, medium, low, and info, and he can get to understand their criticality. He can, with this report, understand the ease of a particular attack. And like the previous configuration report, he can also, compliance report, he can also get recommendations on how to address any loopholes or security vulnerabilities that are present in his network. So to explain this to you, I'm taking you back to the product. And over here under compliance, you have the security audit feature. So I'm going to have this for my FortiGate 1 firewall. So when I scroll down, I can see that this particular firewall is having around 5 high-rated issues, 5 medium issues, couple of low and information-related issues. So to understand how this report works, I would recommend you to log into our online demo tool, that is demo.fwanalyzer.com, where you can go through this report and understand how this report needs to be read. So to taking you back to the security report, we have a couple of high-rated issues that I'm going to be discussing and showing it to you. All right, so this is the high-rated issue. As you can see, we have that mentioned over here. And here you can see the detailed analysis, the result of the analysis. In addition to that, also the recommendation or the suggestion that is provided by Firewall Analyzer, so that when you follow these instructions, there is a possibility that this particular issue gets resolved and removed from the high rating. And once again, you can download this report in the form of PDF and also in the form of Excel sheets, and you can also mail this to particular people of your choosing, or the HTML format, right? So moving back to the presentation. So now that we have shown you the rule management capabilities of Firewall Analyzer, quickly run over the summary of what we have discussed in today's session. So Firewall Analyzer is a policy and configuration management tool that helps you to identify policy anomalies, unused rules and objects. It lets us perform in-depth impact analysis and helps in pushing policy changes directly to the firewall. So thus it plays a very vital role in optimizing your firewall's performance. It provides out-of-the-box compliance reports for SANS, PCI DSS, NIST, ISO, and several others. It helps in monitoring the configuration changes and also in help in scheduling configuration backups. Finally, Firewall Analyzer provides support for a large majority of the vendors that are present in the market. So listed here is the basic installation requirements for Firewall Analyzer. So as you can see, the tool can be installed on a Windows or a Linux system, and all the syslogs that are received by the Firewall Analyzer by default is stored in a Postgres DB. In case you need to change it to a different DB, we have the optional offering of MS SQL Server. And what you see here on the disk space requirements is the bare minimum that is required to run Firewall Analyzer. So in case you have a bigger requirement, we implore you to search our installation requirements online, where our page will give you a detailed information on the system requirements for your usage. So next we have the prerequisite slide, where we show you the prerequisite ports that needs to be free and which are needed for the effective functioning of Firewall Analyzer. So these are the ports that are required, and in case the default listening port 1514 is not free, you can choose a different firewall ports to fulfill this requirement. So next we have a technology partnership right now with Checkpoint, WatchGuard, and Palo Alto. So this is a list that we are working actively to expand. And then we support more than 50 firewall vendors currently with over 200 device supports. This is again, like the previous slide, another feature that we are planning to expand. We are adding more devices from different vendors with each as the time progresses. Next, we have the Firewall Analyzer's rule management report for a given list of firewalls. You can visit our website to get this list. And in case you wish to have it emailed to you, we'll be adding that along with the training video and the presentation so that you can take a look at it as well. Next, we have a couple more interesting topics that we'll be covering in the next session, which falls on 30th of May. So to know more on the alarm management, the network security traffic reports, VPN monitoring capabilities, user activity monitoring, and also forensic log analysis, we implore you to join our next session, which is 1 week from now, that is on 30th May. We have a couple of commonly asked questions across all of the webinars, which I've taken the privilege to add to this presentation. So now I'm going to go through that quickly. So the question that is commonly asked is, number one, that I have pushed a change to the firewall using rule administration, and is it possible to revert the change? If it is, how do we do that? So to explain that to you, I'm taking you to our product, and over here on the rule management, you go to administration, and in the commit section, in case you do not want a particular rule going out to your firewall, simply hit on the revert icon and hit on add. And as you can see from the commit window, this automatically goes back to your local object section. So in case you wish to have this same change made differently, you can do that over here and follow the regular process of pushing this particular change to your firewall. All right, so next question is, I'm using a Cisco firewall. Can I make changes to the rules using Firewall Analyzer? So the answer to this question is yes. We have multiple vendors supported for the for the rule management capabilities. That is, we have Cisco, Palo Alto, and several other devices. And in case you're using those devices, you can push firewall changes to these devices directly from the Firewall Analyzer tool itself. So next we have the last question for the day, which is, I'm a managed service security provider, and how can I generate security audit reports and complaints reports for my clients without asking for their syslogs? So If your requirement is to add a large number of devices without taking their syslogs into account and use those devices only, firewall devices only, to generate audit reports, we do have this feature particularly tailor-made for you. This is nothing but the manual firewall addition addition feature. So using this feature, you can directly add the firewall device to Firewall Analyzer for monitoring and generating security audit and compliance management report. So the best part is it does not require syslogs to be forwarded from the firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. So customers who feel skeptical about sharing their syslogs but want security audits, you can add them through this feature and share them the security audit logs directly. All right, so in case you need more help on the product, kindly visit our help page or post your questions in our forum. And you can reach us directly on our support email address, that is fwanalyzer-support@manageengine.com, or you can even directly call and talk to us over the number that is given in the screen. And in case you wish to know about any of the features in detail, I would request you to search our help page, which is very exhaustive and covers all the features that Firewall Analyzer has to offer. And in case you have any questions right now, please feel free to raise them through the Q&A chat panel. And we have a team of panelists who are waiting to answer any questions that you have on the product. So we are listed on Capterra. In case you are an existing customer and you wish to share your reviews with us over Capterra, we implore you to do so. And to show you our appreciation, we'll be sharing a small gift of $25 for your post. Your review has been posted. If you want to know more on the best practices of firewall, be it a new admin or an admin who's a veteran in the field of firewall network security, we have few tidbits for all of you. And these are a couple of ebooks that we are uploaded to our website, and these are available free of cost. And you can wait for me to send you an email along with the training session where I'll attach a link for you to download the ebooks. Or in case you want to take a look at it immediately, I would request you to search online for firewallanalyzerebooks.com, and you will get that directly in Google itself. So next, with respect to customer security and customer data security, we from ManageEngine can assure you that we take customer security and customer data as top priority and ensure that it stays protected at all costs. If you want to know more about the VPN management and also want to collect the following collaterals, please do not forget to join our next session, which is again on 30th May. So thank you for joining us today.